Jordy Smith, can he give us a perfect heat? Nice big tail slide.
Wow, are you kidding me? This inside racetrack and another barrel. Crowd's going wild down here. Huge float rooftop, and he rides out of it, ladies and gentlemen.
A perfect heat. I believe that's Jordy's first. Julian drives out onto the open face now, draws that turn out, sets up the tube on the inside though. This way's holding open, and he goes into the second section, still rolling through this one. The hands go up. He's giving himself a 10-point ride.
That's right. John Florence standing tall in the pit. Florence has some room to move.
I don't know how much more of this I can take.
It's been all about chasing the perfect 10 this week here at the Corona Open. JBay finally finishing round 4, and we're happy that we waited till this morning to do so. Saw another 10 from Felipe Toledo to work out the quarterfinals. Coming off a heat where world number 1 Matt Wilkinson will go straight to quarterfinal number 4. Now it's time for round 5 action. H1-2, the rookie on tour, taking on 3-time world champ, the defending champ here at Jeffreys Bay, Mick Fanning, in classic conditions at our favorite right-hand point break. While we were away, former world champ Martin Potter in the booth alongside myself, and Durug wants to really take control of the lead here.
Yes, he does. And I'll tell you what, we have seen action thick and fast in these first 2 heats this morning, Joe. I mean, yesterday, what an incredible day that we started off with. From the first exchange, we knew it was going to be a special kind of day. Jordy Smith with the perfect heat. 10-point rides left, right, and center. But then this morning, the first heat to kick things off, Felipe Toledo, probably one of the best 10s I think I've ever seen, Joe.
We're still trying to just come to grips with what just happened this morning. Double alley-oops in transition and more turns to follow. That was that first heat of the morning. Now Fanning, well overhead wall. Tons of speed to burn. Layback gouge off the top in the wind. Setup work down the line, covering some serious ground. Wrapping maneuver nice and tight. How's he gonna finish this one off? Layback jam. Burning all of his speed and still running. Arcs it high, digs in back in the pocket, now reaches straight up vertical. Big free fall for Fanning. There's a lot of turbulence in there as the bottom drops out right by the bricks, but Fanning got some amazing maneuvers done in transition. He's always been known to be maybe the fastest surfer in the world. It'd be cool if you could get 2 waves and track him versus Felipe down the line.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if Mick Fanning is the fastest surfer in the world, Felipe Toledo can fly the highest, Joe, that's for sure. You know, you match Mick Fanning's speed along with JBay, and it is a match made in heaven, that is for sure. He's got his work cut out for him, though. H1-2, 5.17 on his opening wave. And Mick Fanning about to take the lead with a mid-ranger. 30 minutes remaining. The waves are absolutely pumping. There's a little bit of devil wind this morning, but that's going to dissipate, and we're going to see that nice, clean offshore, light offshore winds for the rest of the day. We are in for another fantastic day of surfing. So get comfortable, don't go anywhere, because it is going to be on.
It's interesting when you look at Mick Fanning and his consistency in the finals here at Jeffreys Bay. One thing that's not always consistent is him skipping this round 5. For fans watching Fanning, it's an extra heat. We get to see him do his thing. And he's obviously been transitioning all the way to the final the last few years straight. Last time he lost in this round, 2010, when Damien Hobgood took him out.
Yeah, you know, it quite possibly could be finals, though. I mean, if the waves keep pumping, you know, these guys have got to make sure that they save some in the tank. Mick Fanning, here we go. Let's have a look at his replay. Just a nice high line as he draws off the bottom. Back on that other board, Joe. We saw him do a board change yesterday. A little bit stuck there, but you can see a little bit of chatter still this morning, but that is going to go away. That is going to, you know, the wind is going to clean this wave up. Mick Fanning bringing this one through the inside. Driving off the bottom again, and this wave just keeps offering scoring opportunities as it makes its way down the point. Now it starts to hit that impossible section, and this is where the wave starts to speed up a little bit, and there's that trademark turn from Mick Fanning. Beautiful wingspan, back up through the lip, and just doesn't quite ride out of that last maneuver. But still enough to take the lead, Joe.
So Mick Fanning turns in a 6.33, H1-2 a 5.17 as they're billed with their numbers. Both had to deal with some round 4 heats that were pretty challenging. Fanning had the heat with John Florence and a lively rookie named Frederico Moraes. Moraes, the back-to-back 9s early, was the underdog in that heat with the world champs. Took top honors. He'll be waiting for his heat in the quarterfinals. For Mick, he had a 9.73. John had a 10 in that matchup.
That was probably one of the best heats of the event so far, I would have to say. And the underdog coming out on top. So Frederico Moraes making it quite clear those big names don't ruffle his feathers. Kept his cool. And he said, he said before in that post-heat interview, he said, I'd had some good heats, but I haven't quite surfed my best. And I knew in that heat I had to. He had to bring his best to the game to win that against John and Mick, and he did exactly that. So to be able to call on your ability at the drop of a hat, I mean, that's talent in itself, Joe. It
sure is. In demand, clock's ticking. That's what makes Felipe so special as well. Sometimes those errors you see in a heat for Felipe might be a video-ending part for most surfers around the world.
It was tricky with that wind. It was tricky, and then it got nice at the end. So just cleaned up enough to surf properly.
At the very start of the heat, it looked like it was just like
yeah, you needed to just pick slow ones, otherwise you start.
But no.
I got hammered on the reef on my A.
Bullshit, really?
I dove off and just went on my side, and then started like dragging on my hand, and just hit my knee and like bounced over and was just like, oh, what's next? Like no part of my body.
My head.
Yeah.
Oh, so
quick little recap. Matt Wilkinson, world #1, talking to Ryan Fletcher. Fletchy, the pit boss for Team Rip Curl, and they always keep it light, controlled. Wilco reliving that experience on the bricks, and I think sometimes that's one element that we're not super aware of at times because this wave's so beautiful and perfect. You think about big wipeouts and consequences at Chopu, Cloud Break, Pipeline all the time. But when it gets shallow and these guys have a heat on the line, they hit it hard, bottom drops out, and sometimes it could be in the running for Wipeout of the Year.
No, absolutely. and as you hit the nail on the head, Joe, it's a part of this wave that people don't realize that, you know, it's a powerful wave down the end here. You take off on the wave out the back at 6 foot. By the time you get down through Impossible section, it is still 6 foot, and it's carrying a lot of energy. I had one of my worst wipeouts here as a kid, back in the day when wetsuits weren't that good. I ate it in the barrel, and the zipper came down in my wetsuit, and I filled up with water, and I couldn't come up, and it was a scary moment. So this wave does give you those moments. You know, Matty Wilco bouncing off the bottom a number of times, but seems like he's okay.
Matt Wilkinson taking the win over Michel Perez and Connor Coffin in the last heat. If you're just joining us, Wilco will be going straight to the quarterfinals. Last year, as we know, Wilco had the massive lead, and this is where it started to slide. He ended up losing the Jeep Yellow jersey in Tahiti when John Florence made the final.
Yeah, he's a different competitor this year, though, Joe. Yeah, I think that starting off with that second place to Owen on the Gold Coast just settled things down for him. And then he just kind of built his momentum through the year. So coming out, I mean, he had a great performance in Fiji last year, went one better this year. He's just a different guy. I mean, he's not asking the question, what's happening? He knows what's happening, and he's reacting to it, and he's reacting well.
And he's always fun to catch up with. Matt Wilkinson now alongside Rosie Hodge.
Well, Matty Wilco, you've been winning heats, you've been surfing well, but in that heat you seem to step it up a gear. How nice is it to have that ability to just push it to another level when you need to?
Yeah, I think as you get more comfortable in an event, you realize what you can and can't do, and so to get into this pointy end and to have a round 3 where there's no real loser, but there's kind of a real winner. It's kind of nice to be able to push it and see what you can do, and yeah, it was super tricky at the start with that devil wind. It got pretty strong, and I was like bouncing around at the start, and that was kind of what I really didn't want to do. I was watching and wanted to get the second wave of the set, and then at the end I did that, and it was an absolute bomb, so I was stoked.
And you've given yourself such an advantage going straight into the quarterfinals. Owen, John meeting up against each other, Geordie Smith in that round 5. How are you feeling about this world title race?
Yeah, it's obviously still early in the year, but it's definitely nice to be jumping straight into the quarters. I was kind of this morning I was thinking, well, if you get put into round 5 and then they finish the comp today, that's 5 35-minute heats in some pretty tiring conditions, and I really didn't want to do that. So hopefully I can just make it four heats in these perfect but hard conditions, and yeah, I'll be stoked to get through a few more.
And last year you were in this position. How much more confident are you feeling this year?
Yeah, I feel a lot more comfortable this year. I had a bigger lead last year, but it was I don't know, it was kind of a scary one because I didn't know what I was doing and just going, oh yeah, this is awesome. But yeah, now I'm feeling really comfortable, and this year there's just been waves at every event, which is pretty awesome. So hopefully we can keep that going, and yeah, I'm just excited to be up the top end, and the guys that I'm up there with, it's an honour to be around them. They're all the best surfers in the world, and I watch their heats and I'm like, whoa, I wish I could do that. And then they seem to be keeping on pace with them, so I'm stoked.
Great surfing, Matt. Well done.
Thank you, Rosie. Matt Wilkinson, a new man this season. Even though we see that familiar Jeep yellow jersey on his shoulders at Jeffreys Bay, it's a whole new experience for him. He learned a lot in his first world title campaign last season. As we see Ryan Fletcher on the scene, Rosie Hodge, looks like Mick might be thinking about a board change.
That's right, Joey. Well, I just spoke to Fletch, and he said he's not quite sure why Mick wants to change up his equipment, but that is going to happen when he comes in on the next set. So we'll find out the reason for that equipment change.
Thank you very much, Rosie. Seeing Fletch already ready to go. Mick Fanning surfboards are world famous, shaped by Darren Hanley. These boards he brought here, 5'11", 18¾ as he's checking out this new spray job. He has the black blob that he introduced for 2017, a bit of a throwback for what he used to have way back in the day. But checking the rails, and we'll see why he's asking Fletch for the change. So Fletchy ready to go, and Mick's just going to wait for a wave, and we'll see if he can get a keeper on that board.
Joe, I think when he exited the jet ski on his last ride, I saw him check the board straight away. So whether it was something happened on the wave or whether it was something that happened getting on and off the jet ski, I'm sure Rosie will be on the situation as soon as it happens. But 6.33 for Mick Fanning anyway. Finds himself in the lead. Joan Deroux out the back with priority. The ocean is taking a breather. It's letting us take a breather as well, because there's been some great action this morning.
It's been unbelievable. Two back-to-back full rotation alley-oops. I actually saw Mick, who was watching that heat. He was running back to his house to get ready for this heat, and he said, did you just see that? It had that kind of appearance on the whole crowd atmosphere that we just saw something special. Felipe, John, part of that new crew that's redefining the mold and how you approach this wave here at Jeffreys Bay. Fanning still defending champ, going for his 5th title this season. Strider Wazalewski, anything you notice about Mick's equipment and why he might need a change now?
Well, the Water Patrol guys just gave us a little information. They said that when he jumped off the ski, he hit the ski with the board. So I'm not sure exactly what happened to the board, but something definitely happened, and he's going to have to change out. I don't know if there was a fin or a rail damage or a buckle or something there. We'll find out all the rest of the information, but he definitely has to come in for the board change, and it was when he jumped off the ski. So unfortunate little error there, but he'll come in, he'll get changed over. I think Sean's up there watching closely as well.
So Strider still turning in a 6.33, but obviously he's got a solid board waiting on the beach. Sean Thompson, former world champ, on the scene. How do you like Mick's equipment, how it compares to the rest of the top 34?
Hey there, guys. Yeah, I spoke to Mick this morning, and Mick, in contrast to most of the guys, rides a squash tail. Connor Coffin rides his Channel Island squashes. And I said, you know, why are you riding a squash and not a round tail like most of the other competitors? He feels that the squash is faster. He feels he can make more critical turns. And he thinks the squash is actually quicker through the transitions. So squash is working super well for him. And, you know, a lot of the traditions are being backed here at JBay. You know, you would assume a long wall, a round tail's better. But, I mean, he's really using that squash to great effect.
Thank you, Sean. Big backside free-floating maneuver to start right into the barrel for Joan Deroux, and he comes flying out. Now arcing off the top again, the rookie putting pressure on Fanning. Can he finish? Nice clean carve back to the source. The damage has been done at the start of this wave. Speed line float into the barrel for a big combo. Can't find the finish on the bricks, but he'll take the lead off Fanning with 18 minutes to go. More waves on the way here, Potts.
That's exactly what you got to do if you want to try and take down the best of all time out here at JBay. But have a look at this set, Joe.
Fanning nice and deep. Hasn't been able to switch his boards out yet. Blitz is the first section. Big windup. There's a solid wrapping maneuver. Absolutely flying now into his third hack. Stretches out the carve. This thing growing through the inside section. Beautiful top turn. Pulls into a healthy looking cavern. And fights his way out. Mick wants more. Perfect positioning. That wave spits him out the first section and he comes out of there. Wow. Unbelievable ride en route to a board change. Rosie, maybe you should stay on that board. It looks fine to me.
That's exactly what I just said to Fletch. I mean, you know, Strider mentioned that maybe there was a bit of a buckle with the ski, but both Fletch and I concur that that board is looking pretty spicy.
Very, very nice to see that. Anything you notice about the backup board, Rosie? Does it look exactly the same as the one he's on?
Well, Fletch just mentioned that it's his normal short board that he's got as a backup, so he wasn't entirely certain what board he is on at the moment, but I'm going to get my shot on here. Yeah, so we'll see as soon as he comes in why he's changing up that equipment, because like I mentioned, that last wave was pretty impeccable.
Rosie, what's the common routine? Is Fletch supposed to run towards the keyhole to be ready for the paddle back out, or meet Mick back where he's getting out of the water?
No, he's going to want to get to the keyhole. I mean, that's the easiest place to exit the water here at Super Tube, so he'll just beach himself.
So Fletch is going to have to turn around and run all the way back to the keyhole.
Well, we are on our way there. Mick's coming in. Fletch is going to pick up the pace. But it looks like, yeah.
He's running the wrong way,
we're going to pass on the baton to Mick Fanning here. This is why we train.
This is why we train, Rosie.
All right, Rosie, I want you to keep up with Mick. See, I told you.
Oh, here we go.
I told you.
He went the wrong way.
Mick is making Fletch earn his keep as well as me. I mean, wow.
Come on, Rosie. Keep up.
But I have been training my whole life for this moment, Joe. You know that.
This is amazing. Rosie, really fit, always running.
This is why we train. This is why we train.
Well, Fletch is holding onto his pants and the surfboard, so I'm really impressed with his multitasking.
Great technique. How many minutes are we talking here, Rosie, on the runaround?
Oh, it looks like it's going to be, you know, like a 2.5 minute turnaround, but you think about it. 9.8 for Mick Fanning, so he's hearing that on the beach.
Incredible.
But yeah, I would just say, doing this run around, he's just surfed 9.8.
Come on,
he's
Rose.
doing the running around.
Catch up to him, Rose.
Okay. Oh, are you kidding me? I got some speed in these legs, Pot. You know that.
That was incredible. So in hindsight, Fletch, he probably wishing he would have got a jump start on that run to the keyhole to the top. Mick got the keyhole exit down at the bottom and turned it a 9.8. I love his crew. To keep it light and fun. Rosie is so amazing when she travels. She runs up. Remember that one time Rosie ran all the way to Magnitudes and back before the contest started? That was incredible.
Well, I mean, you got to keep up with these athletes. I mean, Mick's still going for it, so that is a pretty solid turnaround. Probably, what was that, about 3 minutes?
Yeah, not too bad. Very impressive to see that board change. And what about the risk, Rosie, in really needing a backup board at Jeffreys Bay with your time management? I mean, Mick has been out of the water for solid maybe 5 minutes now, as we'll calculate that runaround. Yeah,
definitely. Well, I think what he has in his corner is that 9.8, so a lot of confidence from that. So, you know, that is the risk that you take when you change your boards. It's just how much time it takes to get from the bottom of the point all the way to the top of the keyhole. So something to take into consideration.
Well, I'm exhausted. Take your catch your breath, bro. That was insane.
You take it easy in the booth there, guys.
Rosie Hodge on the scene for the board change for Mick Fanning. Apparently, maybe doing something to the rail, jumping off the ski at the start of the heat. Still turning in a 9.8 on this bomb.
Yeah, what a wave for Mick Fanning. I mean, it was just a matter of time, wasn't it, Joe? H1-2 dropped a 7.5 on Mick. So Mick knew he needed to crank it up. He needed something special, a 6.33 on his opening wave, and then this. I mean, this is just a match made in heaven, as we talked about before. The style, the pace that Mick Fanning has here at Jeffreys Bay. Look at that turn, driving through that first section, and snuck out the end, but then wasn't finished with that. Just perfect positioning yet again. A lot of people were finding it hard to get in and out of that tube here this morning. We saw quite a number of barrels unmade, so Mick Fanning just really nailing that one.
Strider, how'd that look when he just got this section to unload on him?
Unbelievable. This inside barrel that he had was just absolutely a keg. The thing just absolute stand-up, beautiful tube, just looking for the exit the whole time, and just slips right out the doggy door for the beautiful finish of that wave. I mean, that inside tube was one of the best barrels I've seen since we've been here. The thing just is so round and so square, and then he knew he had to find his way out because it was running off really fast after that. So great read from Mick.
Really impressive to see what Fanning can do on the wall here at Jeffreys Bay, Potts. As we take another look, is it the double up really provided a huge cavern?
Yeah, that turn really did set everything up, and those are the little things that go unnoticed when it comes to Jeffreys Bay and Mick Fanning. I mean, everything makes sense as far as riding the wave goes, and look at that. That is wide open, as Strider was talking about. I like the fact he didn't try and bite off more than he could chew. He knew he was on his way to a good score, and that is a smart competitor in Mick Fanning, just to pull out of that one, not try and get too greedy, not try and, you know, obviously get that last little section there. So a 9.8 finds himself in the lead. Great stuff.
Mick Fanning always has to earn his big scores. He's not one of those guys who throws 10s all the time. Remember last year in the final, he gets a lot of 9.8s, a lot of 9.9s. They're always waiting for Fanning to do something even more on the next exchange. One of the hardest working athletes on tour, a 3-time world champ last year, just did select events. Said if he didn't re-qualify, he wouldn't ask for a wild card. He'd make a decision about the QS. Won this event at Jeffreys Bay, and that put him right in the money to just do lower trestles. He said that would be his final event. We were just hoping that his decision would be another full year on tour, chasing down title number 4 to tie Mark Richards.
Yes, and you know, I'll tell you what, you know, I don't know, though. I think Mick's the kind of guy maybe doesn't want to beat that record. I think he wants to leave that one standing for MR, but what an amazing competitor. He's had such a fantastic career. 4 wins here at Jeffreys Bay, multiple wins, you know, around the world, but a 3.5-minute pit stop there for Mick Fanning, so didn't really waste too much time. Got back out on the lineup before H1-2 even got another wave, so smart move right there, and yeah, be interesting to find out what actually happened with that board.
So Fanning still fired up, enjoying a hot streak of repeat finals from 2014 to 15, where he split the points with Julian to a win over John last season. Former world champ Sean Thompson on the scene. How'd you like the 9.8 from last to Mick Fanning?
Oh, I thought it was a fantastic ride. I actually thought it was going to be a 10. I think what has happened is that Felipe Toledo, with that amazing aerial display with those 2 double boost alley-oops, or whatever you want to call them, I think he kind of changed the scale, and I think to me that was maybe the best tube ride we've seen thus far in the event. And the judges wanted to give it a 10, and then they thought of that wave of Philippe's, and they thought, well, maybe we have to keep the scale open in some way.
Exactly, that 10 for Felipe. Some people want to give it a 12 because it was so different at Jeffreys Bay. What about the classic lines from Fanning, Sean? Always so fun to watch.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful lines. He just gets so much torque and arc and power out of his turns, and that was a beautiful turn that he did. Like, he threw his body around, and then that setup onto the inside for that second tube was a very technical tube, and he just rode it so well. He has so much confidence. I was chatting to him before his heat, and he just sort of exudes that confidence and power.
Love seeing that. Thank you, Sean. Paddle out the back priority with Duro. It's going to be a late takeoff. Not a problem, though, as he's starting to set this one up out front. Projection, high line arc. Another turn just to cover some ground. Really wants some more speed. This thing's running through impossibles and uses priority for a tough wave that's not going to help him out here. Do remember, have the 7.5 for the big float to barrel. Now needs an 8.64 to upset one of the greatest here at Jeffreys Bay.
Yeah, it was smart on Mick's behalf there, just to push the issue. And H1-2 knowing that if he had to let Mick go on that, Mick probably could have made that wave. But H1-2 using his priority, a little bit of defense right there, but keeping Mick off that. It's not going to be a keeper for Daru, just a 2-1-7. So still holding that 5-1-7 in his scoreline, needing an 8-6-4. Mick Fanning looking to replace the 6.33 now. Has priority. You can see Mick keeping him honest, making sure he committed to that wave, which he did. And this wave just a little bit too quick on the backhand, Joe. You can see racing down the line. All the turns are more directed down the line. Now you can see him trimming high line, high line. Is he going to get around? I thought he was going to pull into the barrel, but that wave just closing out on him. Unfortunate there for H1-2. 7 minutes and 50 remaining. Mick Fanning now in the box seat, Joe. He's got the lead and he has priority. And he's holding a 9.8.
Such a solid position for Mick Fanning. Remember, winner of this heat moves on to the quarterfinals to take on Gabriel Medina as this one continues. As we get the equipment update with Rosie Hodge with Ryan Fletcher.
So Fletch and I have just recovered from our run at the point, but Fletch, you have the backup board of Fanning's. Can you see, you know, anything that kind of would have sparked that change?
No, the only thing I can think of is it's just a different shape. It's still the same dimensions, still just a regular shortboard. So I'm not exactly sure why he changed it, considering they got a 9 on the one he came in on. But I just thank him for the sand run.
Yeah, well, definitely keeping us on our toes and keeping us fit. So like you mentioned, nothing different in this board to the one that he changed. He's been riding this one in the event so far. So is this one of the boards that he has a lot of faith in?
Yeah, for sure. This is definitely one of the keepers, one of the ones we've been keeping in the arsenal for situations like this. So again, I'm not exactly sure why he changed, because he's been riding this board out here really well, and then in the lead up to this he was riding it out at Winky in similar conditions and it was going really well. So I'm not sure. I'm going to have to talk to him when he comes in.
Definitely. Well, we're going to go get a coconut water and get the lactic acid out of our muscles. Back to you guys.
Really impressed, Rosie and Fletch, on that sand run. That was beautiful and very important for Fanning to switch it up. We'll see if he gets a keeper on his decision on the backup board now. Fletchy looking it up and down, obviously not finding any damage that we were guessing could have happened off the jump off the ski. Here comes Duru, fighting for an 8-6-4 to take the lead. Beautiful timing on his first 2 turns. It's wide open down the line. Nice steering, top turn carve. Another wrapping cutback for Duru. He's getting through the ribs in the open face and squares up vertically. In a fun section to work with on the finish. Coils up and slams it. Loving the windup out of Duru on this wave at JBay. Never holding back.
Oh, I love it. I love his style. It's just really strong and low center of gravity. Keeps that board on the rail, those big, long, drawn-out bottom turns. Kind of reminds me of Oki's approach here. And it's he's looking good, let me tell you. I don't know whether that's going to be an 8-6-4, but he's surfing incredibly well. He's a just completely different guy to the beginning of the year, isn't he, Joe? Just that good result in Fiji that has just given him that confidence, that sense of belonging and belief that he can do it. He you know, feels like now he's a part of this world tour, and his surfing has definitely come a long way. Let's have a look at this wave. Nice little opening turn underneath the priority of Mick Fanning. So just wanted to get the ball rolling, trying to get rid of that 5-1-7, just trying to get himself back in the heat, chip away at that 8.64. There's plenty of time to do it. Another nice turn there from Daru. You can see how low he gets off the bottom and then drives off that back foot. And then right here, this last turn, just really cranking it up. It's going to be close. I mean, it's still going to be a great score. It's going to give him confidence moving forward. He's still got plenty of time to get back out there and maybe have one more shot at this. And as the score drops in, it's not enough, Joe, but positive signs for Daru.
7.77. Strider, what'd you notice about that last wave from H1-2?
Well, he finished it off. He hasn't finished a wave yet. He's been coming unstuck on the inside. So, you know, we've talked about it through this event. The waves are that good to where you can't make a mistake because everybody else is going to have those high quality scores coming through. So a mistake will cost you highly. And so far, Juan's actually had 3 mistakes on his prior waves where he hasn't been able to either make the end section or actually finish his waves. So Mick Fanning, on the other hand, up and blasting through the lip, looking like this new board is coming very nice under his feet. Again, whipping back into the whitewater on a rebound. Beautiful hack off the top again. Just fluid, mistake-free surfing right there. We'll see if he can finish this thing off on the inside as he comes to this little racetrack where he loves this inside corner. Bingo, nice little turn there. He's going to go for the inside corner. Big float. Can he come down with it? didn't make it. So a little mistake there from Fanning. But yeah, Johan Duru on his waves, he's got to finish him off.
Thank you, Strider. Mick Fanning made the change after a big 9.8. And that was his first wave ridden on the board that he got from Ryan Fletcher on the beach. Johan Duru is starting to build on his score line. A couple of sevens his last. The 7.77, which is keeping this one very close. So board looking sharp. His boards almost look identical when you look at Mick's choices in the locker room. Those Darren Hanleys, 5'11", 18.75, 2 1/4. DH said he has a 5'11.5", like what he probably ride on yesterday's conditions. What do you think about this first turn?
Yeah, beautiful. I mean, it's just classic Mick Fanning surfing, isn't it? And that's what's brought him so much success here at this spot. You know, just time after time, he connects with the lip well. It just seems like he's got so much time. You know, you watch everyone else at this place, not everyone, but most of the guys, it seems like they're always driving down the line, racing to try and find that section to unload those turns, where it seems to me like Mick Fanning has just got so much time to work his turns into this wave. And just a little bit of a mistake right there, getting a little bit too extended. But the first turn is really, it sets everything up. That first bottom turn into the wave is so important. You know, it just gives you that rhythm. It finds that groove. And look at that. The body positioning, the torque, everything just makes sense with Mick Fanning here at Jeffreys Bay. Looking to improve on a 6.33. Even with the wipeout at the end, I'm saying that it's, I think he's going to better his situation and put a little bit more pressure on Johan Duru. But, yeah, just classic surfing from Mick Fanning.
Scores coming in for Mick to improve on a 6.33, turns into 7.0. Now Duru needs a 9.04 on this wave to make the quarterfinals. Big connection, a beautiful open face. Another big vertical hack off the top. Duru digs in. Clean top turn wrap, and the rebound takes him down. Wow. He was off to such a beautiful start on a comeback wave.
Oh my.
Where he couldn't afford any mistakes with 1:25 to go. That might be it, Potts.
That's all she wrote, Joe. 1 minute, 20 seconds, as you said. A mistake out of nowhere. An unforced error for Johan Duru. He was definitely on his way to a good score, wasn't he? A couple of massive turns at the beginning of that wave, setting that inside up. Maybe just, I don't know, taking a bit of pressure off the back foot, maybe focusing a little bit more down the line, and that whitewater came up and just took the board from underneath his feet. Unfortunate for Johan Duru. Let's have a look at the beginning of the wave, though. Good, solid wave for Duru. Nice opening maneuver. That's what you got to do. You got to match Mick Fanning's out-the-back stuff. And again, 3 solid maneuvers. Whitewater takes the board from under his feet. And, well, that's why a lot of people don't really connect with the whitewater here at Jeffreys Bay. You kind of try and stay in front of it. You don't want to bounce off it. You don't want to rebound off it, because it is moving so fast in one direction. If you're coming back at it, it just spells disaster. You can see as that wave explodes, it just releases the fins. There's no engagement of the fins right there. And unfortunately for Johan Duru, he goes down, and a missed opportunity.
As we're already into the countdown, Duru knows that's all he's going to have time for, and congratulates Mick Fanning on the road into the quarterfinals. Fanning with a big 9.8, backed it up with a 7.0. Just took 3 waves in that 35-minute matchup. And Duru turns in another solid result here in his rookie season on tour, following the quarterfinal that he had in Fiji. Round 5 continues at the Corona Open JBay. Coming up next, John Florence takes on Owen Wright.
probably that first kind of high line you get to do. You get so much speed out of it. You take off and you kind of way to the top, and then all of a sudden you just drop down and you have so much speed going into the wave.
Thanks for being with us. You're watching the Corona Open JBay, and what a time to tune in. Round 5, heat number 2 is a huge one for the world title race. John Florence winning the world title last season, now current world number 2, takes on world number 3, Owen Wright, in brilliant Jeffreys Bay conditions. Both these guys looking for their first win at this prestigious event at the halfway mark, and during the break, let's get caught up. Owen Wright got things started in a big way.
Yeah, what a heat this is going to be, Joe, and unfortunate that these two guys are meeting so early in the event, but for our viewing pleasure, I mean, we're going to sit back and love every single minute of this. Owen Wright on a big solid wave. Is he going to get around the section? Of course he is. And then watch this wave, Joe. This wave stands up on the inside, and that wind is starting to go offshore. It's cleaning up, and Owen Wright comes off the bottom on a huge backside snap in the pocket. Unfortunately, just doesn't get around that next section. And then right behind him, John Florence takes off on wave number 2 of the set. We're watching two of the best in the world right now. The best, one of the top goofy footers up against one of the top natural footers. I mean, that conversation we could talk about all day long as John books into that first turn. Now he comes off the bottom waiting for it. The waves have been doubling up through the inside, and John is probably one of the best at identifying a tube. And have a look at this, guys. Pulls in quite a frothy little barrel as he comes flying through that section. Slows himself down and gets a little bonus cover up at the end. And then in true John fashion, he's not done. Just that little speed line jam under the lip for good measure, just to add that extra couple of half a point or so onto that wave. Unbelievable stuff, Joe, and the wind is starting to clean up. The lineup is starting to look great. Those razor edge lines, sets pouring through. I mean, what else can we ask for?
More waves for the best in the world. Owen Wright already on his second effort in the matchup with the world champ. Letting the wave just carry his speed way down the line. He's just got to pick his point. Under the lip hook for Owen. Right now thinking about the barrel, stalling beautifully. Wants to get nice and deep. A big section's going to make this one tough to make it out. And Owen ends up going down. He just washed off a little bit more speed to get nice and deep, and that cost him the completion. So judges playing catch up. They already have to look up to see John's second wave. Wind up, beautiful top turn wrap. Sets the big hack in the pocket with that layback form. Driving back with that high line cutback again on the third move. Clean rail hooks. Now here comes the fade. He wants to get barreled. Already packing it nice and deep. He's gone, and he's come flying out. Another explosive finish into the flats, but he can't hang on.
Wow, that was dangerous. That was a very critical maneuver at the end of that wave, and I'll tell you what, John knows he's got to crank it up because Owen Wright is firing, and John Florence firing as well, by the way. That was an incredible two-wave exchange back-to-back. The judges are still trying to digest these waves and put some scores on the board.
So now a couple of waves ridden from both John and Owen Wright, member number 2 and 3 in the world, going head-to-head in round 5. Let's see Owen's wave first here, Potts.
Yeah, and well, Owen Wright straight back into it. Watch the speed that Owen gets here. That high line, the board is almost taking off. If he had wings, he'd be flying right now as he comes around the section. I love these speed turns under the lip. Real critical stuff for Owen. Now he grabs a rail, pulls into the barrel, driving through that section, still going and going, and unfortunately just runs away from him. I'll tell you what, when that wind really starts kicking in offshore, Joe, we're going to see guys making these barrels. Strider looking straight into the eye of the beast, and one of the best in the world there sitting inside the barrel. Just unbelievable. John right behind him. Scores slowly starting to trickle in. The judges have really got their work cut out for them today. Beautiful turn here. I love the second turn. Look at that, right into it. That layback maneuver that John's been using to great success this year. And then this maneuver right here just jams it off the top and then fades it back. Waiting for it. Wipes off as much speed as he possibly can to get as deep as he possibly can. positioning is perfect, timing is excellent, and then goes for this last maneuver and slips off the nose. Dangerous stuff right there.
How'd you like the finishing move attempt from John Florence Strider? That was a challenging section. Catch up with Strider in a moment, full of water, tons of sets coming through. There's a lot happening in this matchup with number 2 and 3 in the world. Florence's carves, he's got a different angle on him. Every single one he attacks at 100%.
He's got such variety, Joe. That's the thing that really amazes me. I mean, I love that board too. It looks like it's got a flatter rocker in it. It just carries its speed so well. He's never, you know, wanting the speed. It's just on tap for him. And then even at that speed, he's able to lay that board over and drive out of his turns in these kind of tricky conditions. But a critical drop at the end there. He was never going to hold back on that, was he? Scores slowly starting to filter in right now for these two surfers, Joe.
7.83 start for Florence, 6.17 start for Owen. Last for Owen, 3.83. Last for John, 8.67, and the lead. Strider, how'd you like the end section for John Florence?
Oh, that was a brutal fall out of the sky. You know, those whips out the back, though, beautiful surfing, setting up the bowl. You know, there's always that inside maneuver. There's always that risk reward on the inside there. And John just, you know, and all the other athletes really throwing it up into the lip to try to land that thing out off the end. And it's just like jumping off of a 2-story little building there. I mean, I think really you're dropping out of the sky, and it's really the riskiest move you could possibly do. And then to try and stick it with the wind and the uneven surfaces and land on your board all at the same time, it's close to a miracle that these guys make them with such a high percentage. And you know, John actually, as he jumped off the ski, flipped his board over, took a look to make sure there was no damage underneath there, because there was definitely a lot of force coming down out of the sky onto the top of that thing.
Strider, talk to me a little bit about conditions, that wind. Is it starting to clean up a little bit through that inside?
You know, it did have a time where it laid down this morning. So it got really kind of clean and glassy, and I thought we were going to see the switch there, but it didn't happen. So they have forecasted for about a 10 o'clock switch between 10 and 11 for that west-southwest wind to kick back in and go back offshore with a true, nice, beautiful, clean surface. Right now, the guys are dealing with this wind really well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we saw, after John puts one more score on the board, him take to the sky or even on his next wave, because I think he's probably frothing to get back up into the air again. He just loves that huge rotation surfing in the air that we saw out of Toledo this morning, and I would bet that he would love to do some of his own.
Strider, you're a proud Goofy Foot, and we haven't had a Goofy Foot champ in a long time. You go back to 84 with Mark Occhilupo, more recently Damien Hobgood, one of the most successful Goofy Foots with 2 finals in his career at this wave. We really were impressed with the Goofy, especially since we had that all Goofy Foot round 4 heat. And now we've got 3 standing with Owen, also Matt Wilkinson, and also Gabriel Medina. How's Owen looking so far to try to come back in this heat?
You know, Owen has got the ability to throw it into the lip and whip it back down. You know, he's got, I would almost say, a forehand carve on the backhand. He comes up and he throws it almost vertical and then really can engage that front foot rail on the inside and turn down out of those turns. So I'm really impressed with the way he's surfing out here, but he's going to have to, you know, come out of those inside tubes, which are really hard to do. He had a beautiful line through the one that he was in earlier. I was looking dead into it, and it just was really perfectly channeling through that thing, and unfortunately the wave kind of crumbled down just a hair and caught him. So, you know, he's going to have to come out of those barrels on the inside. I think on the face he can match some of those turns, but once he comes to the airs, that's going to be a different story, because if John starts to use this wind to his advantage, that's going to be a tough go.
Good man, Strider. Round 5 heat number 2, already with some big numbers as we look at Owen's form once again.
Yeah, you know, I think what Strider's talking about is the ability to drive off that backhand. You know, you see Matty Wilco comes off the bottom and literally gets the board a bit more vertical, whereas Owen, he keeps that board a little bit more horizontal, but what it does is it gives him that down the line speed that he's still looking for, and the perfect line through that wave, but just kind of running away. I think that would have been difficult to make on your front side, never mind your backside. But I think that, you know, that turn that Strider's talking about for O-Dog, he gets that drive off the top, you know, whereas a lot of guys, that backside snap, it kind of wipes off a lot of speed, and then they keep sort of get caught behind the section a bit, whereas Owens just keeps that down the line momentum, which is very, very important here at Jeffreys Bay.
John Florence and Owen Wright have a lot in common in the fact that before they qualified, the world already knew they were going to be world title contenders with their strengths in heavy conditions in the air, on the open face. John's already accomplished that with his big world title run last season. Both came out of the gates and won Rookie of the Year. John's in 2012, a couple of years before for Owen Wright. But it's interesting because Owen, not just last season had to sit on the sidelines. 2013, he missed the whole year, too, with a back injury. I remember coming back to 2014, he just was so happy to be back on tour. He was a bit emotional even that season, having to watch the tour go by. His best result that year was a quarterfinal, so he didn't have the brilliant, amazing comeback that he did this season that we've been enjoying in 2017.
Yeah, you know, you talk about that back injury. I mean, Owen grew 2 foot in 1 year, you know, so, you know, your body's stretching out, and, you know, as a kid, he had to work on strengthening that, and he's done it. I mean, he's an absolute finely tuned athlete as we speak, and he's back where he should be, fighting for a world title.
And these are the days, Potts, that we always talk about. All the world's best, win or lose, are staying in the competitors area, eyes on the water, celebrating all the big heats like this one, a big one for the world title race. You're thinking if you're Jordy, if you're Adriano, if you're Matt Wilkinson, you're watching this one very closely. Florence just 250 points behind Matt Wilkinson on the Jeep leaderboard. Having a look now, Owen Wright trying to break the combination. Big snap to start. That one's going to race down without him. John still with priority, still has Owen in combo. Surfer from the North Shore of Oahu making a move. Real casual in his style and approach. Gets a nice barrel, super deep now. He's got to try to punch free. That one's going to take him down. Owen back to priority, 21:30 to go. Winner of this heat moves on to quarterfinal number 2 to take on the hot rookie, Frederico Moraes, who's now the last rookie standing in the draw.
Not surfing like a rookie, that's for sure. He's surfing like a seasoned veteran, even up against world champions.
How's it going? Yeah, I'm good. I ripped the edge off. I just need someone to put the edge back on.
That's fine, I know a guy.
Oh, sweet. You know a guy who knows a guy?
Yep.
Can I get down to that?
Yep. Yep, I'll get one of the boys to run it down.
Sweet, thanks.
Mick Fanning, quick talk to Ryan Fletcher. Wanted to get the edge back on. Made that quick board change in that last heat, got the 9.8. Still made the switch and did get a keeper on his final wave. Only took 3 looks in that heat.
So rip the edge off, meaning the back of the board has a real fine edge that gives you that bite. So he's obviously scraped a bit of it off exiting the jet ski, and it is a very important part of the board. That's where you go to your drive, and you know, that bite that he really needs here at Jeffreys Bay. So they're going to go put that back on.
I love those little
running
details
repairs. Yep,
that
amazing.
Mick Fanning knows about. He's aware of, just to give him that little edge.
Yep.
Darren Hanley said the first board that Mick won at JBay on, they still have it in the office to base all of his equipment off of. He's always so understanding of every little thing that goes into his boards. Looks like Mick's now with Rosie Hodge.
Well, Mick Fanning, another incredible heat from you. Yesterday, you know, great surfing. Today, that 9.8, that's got to feel good.
Yeah, that was good. You know, sort of, Joanne's such a great surfer, and he's been ripping out here, and so I knew it was going to be a hard one, and yeah, sort of, we both didn't start off that well, and then when I was jumping off the back of the ski, I took the edge off my board, and so I was sort of a little bit tentative, but then I was just like, well, whatever, let's just go. And the wave was just incredible. The wave did all the work. I just stood there, really.
Well, let's just talk about that board change. You mentioned taking the edge off the board. Can you just run us through what that board is and how it was working for you, and kind of what you might need to fix on it?
Yeah, look, it's just a regular 511. I sort of found it the day before the event. I wasn't going to ride it because I had another batch that weren't feeling as great as my old ones, and then I just had it going and felt really good. So I thought, oh, well, let's ride it through the event. And but yeah, look, I got another really good board too, so I'm not really fussed too much. Just need to put the edge just in front of the fins a little bit. Just sort of took a little bit of glass off, so it's easy fix. It won't matter too much.
And let's just talk about the level of surfing that's going down today. Obviously, some massive scores being laid down. Your opinion on the level that we're at the moment?
Yeah, look, when you got a canvas like JBay, you know, you've got to you sort of embarrass yourself if you don't put on a good performance. You sort of come in and, you know, just with your head down. So you got to go out there and give it your best. And, you know, the wave pretty much does everything. We just sort of play roller coaster rides.
And you know, you're one of the guys that have dominated this place for so long. Kelly's out of the contest, Parker, so that must feel pretty good that you've just pushing that level every year.
Yeah, look, I really enjoy coming here. It's one of the events that I really put pressure on myself to do well here. You know, there's other guys like Kelly, is Fiji and Pipeline, you know. So this is the event I really try and put a good foot forward. But look, everyone's going so crazy. You know, you see Philippe doing the craziest things you've ever seen. That was out of control. So yeah, it's hard, but you just got to try and do the right things at the right time.
We'll see you in the quarterfinals. Well done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rosie. Always great to hear from Mick Fanning. 4 JBay titles, his first way back in 2002 as a young rookie on tour. Got through heats with guys like Danny Wills, Mick Lowe. He's seen the whole tour change in front of his eyes. But talk about having longevity as one of the greats. There's not a lot of athletes in different sports that have won something in 2002 and call themselves a defending champ coming into 2017.
100%, Joe. And the thing that I love about that interview with Rosie was, you know, he's talking about, oh, you know, the canvas we've got, it's you know, JBay does all the hard work. I tend to disagree with that. I think it is one of the most perfect waves in the world, but a really difficult wave to surf good, and Mick Fanning does that. I mean, he surfs it better than anyone. Let's have a look at what's been going down during that interview. Talk about the high line here at Jeffreys Bay. John Florence doing about 100 miles an hour into that first turn. Now he starts to wait. You can see that wave starting to double up. And this is what he's been doing. He's been fading down, waiting for it, and then goes for a big, huge snap. And unfortunately, over the handlebars there for John. So that is not going to go into his top 2 because he's got to replace 7.83. Look at that. Beautiful drone vision there from for John as he brings this one through. What a phenomenal wave this is.
Such a special perspective. You can see on those big sets, it breaks further out from the bricks, breaks over sand, and that's what you want to see when you come to Jeffreys Bay. Solid sets, hooking around the corner. And John Florence, riding that 6.0 Ghost, can completely lay into it as hard as he can and trust that it's going to hang on for him. Scores from Owen's last of 6.23 on this effort.
Yeah, still in that combo situation though, Joe. 16.51. He's got to get busy. Just over 15 minutes remaining. Owen Wright tags that lip again. As he comes around the section, he's going to need something special. Flying. Board speed at maximum capacity. Now he drives into the rail and comes down the bottom again. This wave is just keeps offering him situations to build his points all the way down through the inside, but unfortunately not enough on this occasion as he goes down at the end of that one. So back to the drawing board for Owen Wright.
Both these guys have had different injuries at certain times, so they haven't really seen each other too often in the one-on-one format. They've had a few times to surf against each other. John with 1 win over Owen, but it's a long time ago. Owen with 2 wins over John in his career and 1 win here at Jeffreys Bay. It was earlier in round 3. So now this is the latest they've met in a matchup. And John looking to tie things up with Owen. Already with an 8.67, a 7.83. Wright trying to break a combo with more sets on the way and the time on the clock. He still can achieve that goal.
Yeah, I think you've got to be looking around about 10, between 8 and 10 minutes, Joe. I think with the turnaround, with the paddle, with the, I mean, you're riding the wave for about a minute or so. Then you've got to get on the jet ski. The jet ski drops you off, takes you probably another couple of minutes to get back into the lineup. So I'd say you need a healthy, maybe 6 to 8 minutes, borderline 6, and here we go. Owen Wright needs to start now.
Looking to break free of the combination. He's had a couple of 6s before this wave. And he ends up slipping off the roof on that section off the top. John's going to try to make him pay for it here. Little wind up for Florence, a setup move. Keeps himself nice and high where the power is on this wave at JBay. Just stretches out that layback. He'll throw it away. Didn't really like what he saw coming down the line with all that foam on the face. Knew he wasn't going to get the double up. might as well save yourself a paddle at this stage of the game.
Absolutely, Joe. It's a long wave that is very demanding physically, and both guys giving those ones up.
We're setting up an exciting quarterfinal matchup here at Jeffreys Bay and a big heat for the world title race. We'll be back for more action after this. Welcome back to stop number 6 of the World Surf League Championship Tour. As we reflect back on the previous 5 events of this year, we've had a whole different list of winners, from Owen Wright to John Florence to Jordy Smith to De Souza back in Rio to Matt Wilkinson at the Outer Known Fiji Pro. 5 different winners. That's what's making the top 5 so close. Owen and John taking the first 2 events, and now they're going head-to-head here in round 5, heat number 2. Look at the point difference on the Jeep leaderboard. We had a few ties for third in the lead up to this event. Remember, De Souza knocked out early in round 3. Jordy and Owen still in the running to get closer to that top picture. Wilco already in the quarters, and John in the lead at the moment. And everyone's favorite here at Jeffreys Bay. All the fans loving Jordy Smith. And Jordy basically can call this his second home. Sharon is like a great, an auntie to him.
Yep.
Hosted all the best South African surfers in the world. A lot of international surfers as well, like Mark Akalupo. Would walk down that famous staircase. It sets you up right into the keyhole where you want to paddle out for your heats at Supers. Something that Jordy's been doing probably since he was about 10 years old.
Yeah, Sharon is an auntie to 90% of the pros that have come here over the years. She started a company called Country Feeling, was one of the sponsors. She does a great deal of work with the community here at Jeffreys Bay. She's had the first house on the point here at Jeffreys, and I remember walking down those stairs when I was about 13 years old. Amazing stuff. Just a great human and a massive part of this community and this place called Jeffreys Bay.
And what a connection she had, realizing how special this was to have the first house here on the point. And after that, we've seen this place grow incredibly fast to see what we have today. The wave remains the same. One of the gems of the world, especially in pro surfing. We love how it plays a huge role in deciding a world champion. I always go back to say every heat matters. It's never too early to talk about a world title race. Going back to Florence, just getting past Jordy in a close decision last year in the quarters here, and they both finished 1 and 2 in the world. So we'll see how much meaning this matchup will have when it's all said and done at Pipeline.
Yeah, 5 different winners, Joe. It's going to be an incredible world title race. Who's going to win it?
Oh, are we going there right now, Potts?
Might as well throw it out there.
Predictions for the world title. There's so many different stories.
I think even if you had a crystal ball, you wouldn't be able to work it out.
That's what's making it so fun.
Yeah, amazing.
But you got to say, with Florence, the way he's surfing today, has a great shot at retaking the Jeep yellow jersey. Watching Owen Wright. Clean carve into another big hack off the top. Controlling that board shatter off the bottom for another big vertical. Now it's starting to get hollow. Absolute racetrack towards impossibles and knifes it. Great timing for Owen. Reaching back up for a classic backside hack. Another big tail release, finishing move for Owen Wright to crawl out of the combination here.
Yep, that's exactly what he's done. That's by far his best wave in my eyes. Just the pace of it, the maneuver choice, the positioning, the timing, everything just fitted right in. That's exactly what he needed. Real good confidence builder with 8 minutes remaining. So, you know, I reckon he's crawled himself out of that combo, and I think he's back in the heat, Joe.
Strider, you're talking about the wind. Anything you notice about Owen's approach dealing with that breeze?
Well, I think that the surfers are going to have to change their approach just a bit, go a little more vertical, and stay really sure-footed over their rails. Center of gravity going to have to be based out. The north wind's pushing in, and then that high tide's coming in. It's got that reverb off the reef, off the bricks, coming back out, creating these waves that are actually meeting together and creating those really accentuated ribs coming up the face. That's why we saw Owen fall on his last wave. That's why we saw John fall on his last wave, because of those big ribs having to deal with them. So I think, you know, you can see Owen just vertically slamming away right there. So beautiful surfing and a lot more over his board. Center of gravity really solid and really based out. And I think that's what you're going to have to do out here right now. Really come through those turns with authority.
Good man, Strider. Owen Wright has so much reach and range with that 6'3" frame, and he was able to go vertical on the tail end putts.
Yeah, beautiful stuff right there. And, you know, the thing with that slow motion, there's so much going on with surfing that at normal speed, it's almost a blur to the naked eye. So this slow motion footage just gives you those little ins and outs of the body positioning, the feet positioning. You can see, watch his eyes. His eyes a dead set giveaway on where the board's going to be a split second later. So that upper body twisting and turning gives him that momentum, gives him that rotation, gives him that speed and that whip off the top. Unbelievable stuff there from Owen Wright, and I think that's a great start to get himself back into this heat.
6:45 to go. Whistles from the stands. Everyone on their feet. Every time they see these corduroy lines heading towards the best surfers in the world. World champ John Florence came very close to taking his first JBay title last year, finishing in the final against Mick Fanning. So looking to go one step further. This is a place that John's come for his entire life as a young teenager with all of his brothers. They'd be surfing out here, just little kids, absolutely ripping, little telltale signs of what was to come in the future. Now it's 6:10 on the clock, holds priority, scores in for Owen an 8.27. So Owen now needs an 8.24 to upset the world champion.
So now he knows what he's got to do. So, you know, it's that light bulb moment too. It's that trying stuff and surfing a wave a certain kind of way and it not working. You kind of almost can get a little bit disillusioned. You're sort of thinking to yourself, what have I got to do? What have I got to do? And then all of a sudden you get a wave like that and you hear the score and you go, ah, okay. That's exactly what I got to do. So he doesn't need a big solid set wave. He doesn't need to go over the top. He just needs to do exactly what he did on that 8.27. Just clean, smooth, critical surfing.
I know one man enjoying this show right now, 77 world champ Sean Thompson. And what a classic to break down. A goofy and a regular foot surfer with huge reputations. And then we get to compare who's the best on the forehand. Florence has big numbers. How would you contrast him with what we saw from Mick Fanning earlier?
Well, I think Mick Fanning is probably the most technically perfect surfer in the world today. Mick seldom makes mistakes. He really understands the speed line here at JBay. He's very focused, very firm on his board. John's upper body is very loose. He's much more relaxed. His surfing would be most probably perceived as being way more unpredictable, but they both have that searing arc off the top. And then you can see as they drop in, they're looking for that big bottom turn. John looking sort of more loose-limbed and relaxed, and Mick Fanning really staying low and powerful on his board. I would say Mick Fanning's surfing is most probably pretty much mistake-free. John's surfing is so on the edge, so unpredictable and radical that he definitely makes a few more mistakes than Mick, but he has the advantage. If he can keep it together on a wave, he'll be busting out a 10, whereas if Mick can keep it together, sort of he's in the 9-8 zone. So there's that such a minimal differential separating these two amazing surfers. And what a treat it is for me to watch these guys just on these thundering walls of JBay. It's just such a stoker.
We're right there with you, Sean. It has been incredible to watch, not just today, but every single day of competition. We've had more 10s at this event than any other contest this season. Florence, part of that 10 club for what he did in round 4 yesterday. Believe it or not, his first 10 of the season. So big thanks to Sean Thompson, not just for what he's done here, but for all he's done for pro surfing.
Yeah, I was about to say that. It's partly his fault that this is all happening, right?
We love it. We love that we're sitting here with all that we have on the line. I mean, this was a dream for yourself as well, Potts, seeing locker rooms, the athletes treated like the true athletes they are today. So Owen Wright, John Florence qualified at the right time.
Yep.
For Owen, he can still brag about having the biggest prize purse go to his name when he won the contest in New York and took home $300,000.
Absolutely, you know, and it just says that all the hard work that the guys before me, you know, they handed us the ball and we ran as far as we could, and then passed it on to the relevant people, i.e. the Kelly Slaters and the Mick Fannings, and they taken it to the next level. And now you've got the Johns and the Felipes and the Gabriels who'll take it to that next step. So, you know, it's it's unbelievable to sit back and watch the evolution of our sport.
And then you get the waves pumping, and you get two guys that have high profiles that are on the top of their game. Owen and John, they're expected to win every contest they enter. They're the favorites in waves of consequence. They're supposed to be setting the bar for progression, and now they're going blow for blow. Owen breaking the combo, 8-2-7. What's been the biggest difference about Owen Wright this season on his comeback year?
I think it's just the way he's competing. You know, I think you just got to go back to Snapper Rocks, the beginning of the year. You know, he almost went into that event not really expecting anything, but just kept it simple, kept it basic, didn't do too, you know, didn't try and go over the top, but slowly build his momentum, and that's what you got to do. He saved his best for last, and you know, performed highly amazing in the final. So I think it's just the way he's peaking, you know, and I think a lot of guys come out the blocks firing and try and sort of produce their best surfing straight off the bat, whereas Owen sort of almost is working his way into it, and I think that's what you got to do. You want to save your best for last. You want to have some left in the tank for the final, and I think that's where I'm seeing a difference in Owen Wright.
I feel like his whole aura has changed too. When you talk to Owen Wright, he just feels calm. He's constantly smiling. He's a dad now. He's got dad strength on his side, but he's seeing very clear.
So do you, Joe.
Oh, thank you, my friend. He's seeing very clear, and his decision making is just really polished and controlled. It has a different presence than the younger Owen Wright that we saw back in the day.
Well, I think it's also because of the fact that he almost lost it. You know, he almost was not going to come back and compete at a high level, or even be able to go out and surf, you know, and I think he understands that, and now he's just taking it all in and maybe using that as energy to go to that next level.
He got to share a lot of emotion with us all the way to the podium at the season opener at Snapper Rocks, finishing over Matt Wilkinson in the final. What a story that was, the kickoff 2017. Since then, he's been knocked out different rounds, but still holds a tight spot on the Jeep leaderboard, number 3 in the world, just under this man, John Florence, as we're down to 43 seconds to go. Owen, without priority, still needs an 8-2-4. And at this stage, oftentimes you start seeing a lot of sets wrapping around the corner when you know there's going to be a final decision. These guys still looking calm with 30 seconds to go.
Well, here they come, but I think just a little bit too late. Look at the sets starting to form out the back, and Owen Wright starting to react, but I think it's just going to be a little bit too late, unfortunately, for Owen. But great, you know, I think just to get himself out of that combo, to finish the hit with an 8.27 against someone like John, who had him in a combo situation, I don't think he's going to be too worried. He's still in a really good situation going into the back part of this year.
John Florence ties things up with Owen Wright all time. Now 2 wins apiece from the 2 All-Stars on tour. Owen Wright now knocked out of the contest in round 5, so number 2 in the world. John Florence will move on to take on Federico Moraes for a rematch in the second quarterfinal. Working on his alley-oop form to match Toledo. Maybe John's going to throw a couple of those once we get into the final series. Closing this one out for all the fans on the beach, a global favorite being a world champ, looking for his first win at Jeffreys Bay. 16.5 total over Owen's 14.5. These are the kind of heats you want to see him surf all day long. What a treat here at the Corona Open JBay to get what could have been a final as early as round 5. Things continue with Jordy Smith and Connor Coffin. Coming up next, we'll bring in Ronnie Blakey and Peter Mel for the call.